Last episode, I was talking about something and I hinted at the fact that I took AP Stats when I was in high school, but for some reason I called it AP Statistics. I used its full government name. But that doesn't take away from the fact that, yes, I did do AP Stats in high school. The idea behind AP classes, right, if you're not familiar, they stand for Advanced Placement. Stop it. I know. You're probably like, oh, aren't those just normal classes to you, Gauruv? You're too much. But advanced placement classes, right? AP classes, the idea is they kind of mimic a college class, and they're supposed to give you college credits. Now, I took what? I think 11 AP classes or something, and I got college credit for basically one of them. So did it pan out? Basically not. But I also didn't really even end up taking that credit because I wanted to start math at the beginning. I didn't want to skip. So really, there was no point. Except now I get to tell this story, don't I? I get to tell you about the time that I was in AP Statistics. Actually, I'm not going to tell you anything about it, but I'm going to tell you that I'm qualified because of what I'm about to say. I need to explain, show you my qualifications so I can say this next part. It's kind of like when someone flashes a badge at you and they're like, oh, move out of the way. The big dog is here. I'm basically big dogging you right now, and I need you to know that I took AP Stats. Is that clear? Perfect. And now, what is statistics, right? The class? What are the chances that you know? If you got that, that means I don't need to explain it, because you understand. But for the the regular class, folks, the NP classes, I'm going to go with normal placement there. It's not real, I just made it up. That's something you can do as an AP student. You can make things up and pawn them off as real, and everyone will believe you. It's written into the bylaws. The bylaws of what? I don't know. I'm getting away from the point. AP Stats, right? It teaches you probability. It's a statistics class. And so because I took this class and I know apparently stats at a basic college level, I can say this. I can say that there is a non-zero chance, with Thanksgiving being this week, I say that there is a non-zero chance. I actually think there is close to 100% chance that somewhere in the world this will happen. What happens during the holidays, right? People get together. And with Thanksgiving, they get together on the day, Thanksgiving Day. Sometimes with Christmas, there's some variability. Some people like to do the eve, some people like to do the day of, and some people will sprinkle dinners after Christmas. You know, that weird purgatory of a week between Christmas and New Year's? That lawless time, that lawless land. Sometimes they'll do that. It depends how extended and broken their family is. Then they, why did I say that? But they might have a little bit of a laggy dinner, right? They might have like a 28th dinner because they're like, yeah, I got to see that part of the family. They never give names, but the intonation tells you all you need to know. It's that part. And when you get together during these holidays, right? You get together with all the typically like family members. It's people you don't really see throughout the whole year, and you all come together because you're like, oh, I guess you are the people that matter in my life? Really? Maybe I need to take inventory of what's going on with me if that's true. Okay. That's fine. Anyways, let's get this over with. And sometimes this brings out some characters that are not too tasteful, right? People you don't really want to be around. And we'll just call that a crazy cousin, right? We'll use the classic cousin figure here to be the straw man. I'm going to prop this sucker up just to shoot him down. Get ready. So this cousin, for example, might be at this Thanksgiving dinner. And you know, at these dinners or lunch, whatever you want to do, we'll say dinner. That's what normal people say. At this Thanksgiving dinner, there's very boring, boilerplate conversations happening, right? Like, oh, how are things? You can fill in any word for things. How's work? How's the relationship? How's school? You can say anything. How's general things in your life? And then you have normal conversations. But one thing that might come up, this is an interesting conversation that may come up. Someone might be like, oh, is anyone participating in Black Friday? And because I am a statistics practicer, I'm a certified statistician. I am now going to tell you that there is a non-zero chance that that kooky, crazy cousin would take this opportunity to say something very distasteful. Let me remind you what was happening. Someone at this dinner said, ooh, is anyone doing anything for Black Friday? And this cousin might pipe up and say, oh, aren't we supposed to be calling it African American Friday? Enough. Quiet. Don't fucking talk for the rest of the evening. As someone that studied stats, I can pretty assuredly say that there is a non-zero chance that that happens. And unfortunately, this cousin would say something like that, and he wouldn't even be embarrassed. He would be proud. That might go into a note later, right? His notes app on his phone, or maybe like a journal if he learned how to write. Probably not, because he made that comment. But this could and will probably happen this week. Someone will let that joke rip. And it's even bold to call it a joke because it's just bad. It's a bad thing to say, and you shouldn't have said it. You should be embarrassed. But he probably won't be, because he let it rip. And then what are people's reactions? A lot of people will just try to ignore it and move on. But then he'll double down and be like, did you guys hear what I said? No, yeah. And do you not hear our response? Because the silence is loud as fuck, so open your ears. Read the room. I know you can't read a second grade book, but try to read the room, okay? And they won't feel embarrassed at all, which is really funny. It's very bold. They're so proud of it that one person's probably like, yeah, it wasn't funny last year when you told it either. That's right. He repeated the joke. He tried it last year. It didn't get any laughs. He was like, I got to bring this one out again. It's like when they make a sequel of a shitty movie. You're like, hey guys, what was that? Did you not see what we said about the first one? Why'd you go all out of your way to make a second one? That seems like a loss for everyone involved. The viewer, the production company, the director. I feel like everyone's at a loss here. That's a net negative for the world. And when you have that crazy cousin making comments like that, yes, it's setting the world back. The doomsday clock is going to tick. One more tick after enough cousins say that. There's a certain critical mass. If enough people say it, the world will end. Because it's just embarrassing. And you know what else is embarrassing? I was wearing a sweatshirt this week, and I reached down and I realized, oh, this doesn't have a kangaroo pouch. And it was okay because I was home alone and no one saw me, right? It's an isolated event. I can just wrap it up. Oh, open and shut case, no witnesses. It made it very easy. I could just move on. But here I am bringing it up again, kind of opening a cold case, dare I say. But it's already been cracked, so I'm tampering with an old case now. I don't know what I'm doing. No one should have let me in the file room. But it's very embarrassing. If you do it in public, that's got to be bad. Because someone will see you, and they know exactly what you're doing. Because why would you? That's not a motion that people make. And if someone really sucks, right? Like, let's say your cousin is out in public. Remember, you guys don't see each other often. So if you run into each other in public, that's the only time you'll see each other outside of Thanksgiving. Because you guys don't hang out. But because of the magic of Thanksgiving, it's brought you two souls together. So you got to hear him make those comments that he keeps telling people at his local coffee shop, messing with them because they have nowhere to run. Do you ever notice that? Do you ever see that? I've been going to this once a week. I always go 6 a.m. to this one cafe. And I go there, I get a donut and a coffee. And I sit there, and I don't use my phone. I just sit there, I look out the window, and I think about what? I don't fucking know. Whatever comes to me. But it's a nice time of the week to do that. And sometimes, when the window isn't doing it, you gotta look inside and you see people ordering stuff and they try to make friendly banter with the people that run the cafe. And a lot of time it's good, right? A lot of time it's very friendly and you're like, oh, that's nice. Nice little rapport they got going there. Maybe they'll add a little extra donut for them and maybe they'll leave a little tip. It's a nice little exchange, isn't it? But some people are social terrorists because they hold you hostage in that moment. You have nowhere to run. You work at the cafe. What are you going to do? You can't leave. They've got you. And they start testing out their material and you're like, oh no, what are you doing? Now I kind of want to leave. And then you get up to leave and they hear that, the sound of those shitty cafe chairs screech across the ground and they turn around. It's kind of like you're in a Jurassic Park movie. And then you actually sneeze and then the dinosaur, it's facing this way. And it hears that chair squeak and it goes, And then it hones in on you and it kills you. You shouldn't have made a move, huh? That's how I feel. Because I try to leave the cafe and they're like, oh, hey, did you hear the joke? I heard it. And then the people working the cafe are like, no, I don't think he heard it. Follow him out. Because they're trying to get rid of him. But if you're in public, right, and you reach for the kangaroo pouch and it's not there, that's very embarrassing. And if someone is an asshole, like your cousin, they might point it out. They'll be like, did you think there were pockets there? And then what are you going to say, right? You look like an idiot. Because of course that's what you were doing. So what do you say? You go, oh, I don't know. No, I wasn't. No, I wasn't doing that. Sometimes I just like to touch myself. Okay. You know what? You're usually the idiot, but now I look like the idiot here. This isn't fair. And now you're embarrassed. Look at that. Now, Uno reverse card, they were embarrassed. And now you are. But that's the thing, they weren't even embarrassed at the Thanksgiving dinner. They should be. That's the problem. And who else should be embarrassed, right? Jack Harlow. I like Jack Harlow. But he always has to add some shit in a song where you're like, hey, yo, what the fuck did you say? Wait, what was that? And it's always like the craziest thing said so subtly. Like it sounds normal, and then you read the lyrics and you're like, oh my. For example, he has a new song out called Hello Miss Johnson, and it's really good. I don't care what the fuck you say. I really like it. I listened to it like legit 20 plus times this week, which probably doesn't sound like that much, but think about it. Listening to a song that often, I don't do that. I listen to like a song I like maybe 2 or 3 times a week. You know, it's in a rotation, a playlist of maybe like 60 songs. So, you know, it might find its way in there. Also depends, am I driving anywhere that week? It's really got to be prime conditions, right? To really get a song on repeat a lot. So the fact that I listen to a song 20 plus times means, oh man, I'm really returning to it. It's deliberate. And how does this song open? Hello, Miss Johnson? The first 2 lines of that song are, other girls, fuck them. I'd rather touch myself to you than fuck them. That's crazy. What the fuck, Jack? Jackson Harlow, you dog. What are you doing? What the fuck is that? First time I heard it, I didn't even realize that that's what he said. I was just taking everything in. And then I was like, oh, what are the lyrics on this song? You know, on Spotify, it was too new of a song. They didn't have the lyrics loaded yet. So I went to like genius.com. I was like, Hello, Miss Johnson lyrics. And I read that. I was like, oh, well, that seems like it was done to me without my knowing. Well, now that I have that, it's already on my playlist. I already added it to my favorites. It seems like I've made a choice that I was not aware of. It's like signing a contract when you didn't read the fine print and then you read it and you're like, oh, okay. Did Jack Harlow just say Jack Harlow just say he touches himself to Miss Johnson's daughter? That's interesting. So yeah. Jack makes a lot of interesting comments, but he also makes a lot of good beats. So we give him a pass, don't we? Speaking of comments, you guys left a lot of comments last week, and I have to say thank you so much. It means a lot. But something I've also learned is that you guys are funny. Now look at you, huh? You got a little bit of humor, do you? Where's that funny bone of yours? Oh, I can see you still have it because you have both your arms. But I realize, yeah, you guys are funny, which is nice. It's good. Sometimes, have you ever seen this? The certain people that agree with you can sometimes make you reflect on yourself. Like I remember sometimes, I'll make stuff, I'll post it on the internet, and depending on the comments I'm getting, I'll be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have made that. Like there are certain people in my real life where like if they if they watch something I make and then they give me a certain piece of feedback where they're like, oh, I really like this thing you said, I'll be like, oh, fuck. Should I have not said that? Because I don't, if I'm getting that person's cosign, I don't think I'm doing something right. I think I'm doing something wrong. But when I see funny people in my comments, I'm like, oh, thank God. Holy shit. Wait, this is good. I'm attracting the right people, I think, because you guys are funny. There were a lot of funny comments. So thank you. And I appreciate it. It does help. You can see last episode, it got a good amount of views. I think it's one of the, top 5 episodes now in terms of view count. So thank you so much. And I hate to be the guy, but can you do it again? Can you leave a comment again? Can you help me out with that? Thank you so much. And a lot of comments, right? I said, we're good. You're funny. But most of them. Like I said, right? I was in stats, AP stats, and with anything, there's a chance. anything in life, right? It's a real dice roll of sorts. And the chance with the comment section is that, well, not everyone will be funny. And I got a comment on last episode that I would like to bring up here. Now, I'm not going to do this every week, but this is just relevant, so I'm going to bring it up. I'm not going to call someone up to the town square so I can stone them every week, but I would like to point this one out. A comment by Skeptici. Yes, we'll call it that. He said 12:32. He finally says Rizzler. Now, he's saying that in this episode that I titled the Rizzler is a first sign of a societal collapse or something like that. He's saying, I finally said the Rizzler at 12 minutes and 32 seconds. He clocked me. He got me. Touché. I'll admit defeat when I am defeated. But what strikes me about this comment is the fact that it said he finally said Rizzler this time, which means he clicked on that video with the sole intention of hearing me talk about the Rizzler. When I say that we are cooked, this only highlights it. We are on a fucking hibachi grill and throw us in a middle-aged woman's mouth the way we are fucking cooked. Because that's crazy. That guy clicked on my video because he was like, I want to hear this random guy's opinion about the Rizzler. What? I'm sorry. What did you just do? And then admit to? And then he was like, hey, for anyone else that's interested, this is when he finally started talking about the Rizzler. We're done. Wrap it up. Close the shop down. We're done. The canaries keep dying and we keep sending people into the coal mine. I rest my case. Last week, a lot of you agreed, right? The world is collapsing, diminishing at its very seams. It's like an old baseball, really. And we're just watching it happen. And I think this is even further proof of it. I'm contributing even. Or it's just a way to out this person, I suppose. Because this person exists in the world. But because of that video, I got to see them. I got to be introduced to them. But yeah, that's only a small amount of people. A majority are funny. Like I said, a lot of you guys are funny, which it shouldn't be a surprise. I sound like, one of those parents that's like out of touch with their kids, and then they interact with them like one time and they're like, oh, hey, you're kind of smart, huh? Hey, wait a minute, you got some jokes. You're kind of funny. And they're like, yeah, a few years ago, I got the senior superlative for most funny in the class. So, it's not that big of a surprise, Dad. It's like, oh, shit. Wow, really? You graduated high school? I did not know that. Holy fuck. How long have you been out? Wow. How old are you, by the ways? How have things been going? Neglectful parents. It's always funny. You ever see a parent with their kid and you're talking to them and then you say something and the parent answers for the kid and the kid's like, no, what the fuck was that? That's not true at all. Oh, what's your major, by the ways? See, I'm 25. And now I'm in this weird position where I'm older than college students, but I'm not really like an adult older. So sometimes I'll run into an adult that has like teenagers or like someone in college. And I'll be talking to them and the kid. And I'll talk to the kid and be like, oh, like, what's your major? Like, what are you interested in college? And the parent will be like, oh, they really like dogs. And they're quite good at biology. So I think this one's going to grow up to be a vet. And the kid's like, what the fuck? No, I'm allergic to dogs. That's the reason we had to get rid of ours. What the fuck? They're usually and I know that's an exaggerated example, but this is a real one I've run into. I've been talking to a father and son, and I asked the son, I'm like, oh yeah, what's your major? He's an engineer. And then the father's like, oh yeah, he's a civil engineer. And the kid's like, I'm electrical. I'm like, oh, okay. So not close to civil at all. Thanks, Dad. Thanks for the input. This is your son, by the way. So I don't know if you guys have met before, but You look similar, so you might get along. I don't know. So yeah, thank you for the comments. You guys are funny, and I'm glad. It's whew, big sigh of relief. You know, on my main channel, I make a lot of videos on engineering, and so obviously a lot of engineers come in and watch and comment on that content, and I'll just say they're not as funny. Okay, I think a lot of them take themselves a little too serious. A lot of them are funny, right? But we're talking like 30%. The other 70 are like, I'm glad you guys are funny. You know, let's not focus on other things to prop you up. That's the thing. You can compliment someone without putting someone else down. It's possible. Some people don't think it is, but I corrected myself. I know it is, and I'm gonna practice that right now. You guys are really great. You're way better than. Nope. Oh, I did it again. No. But no, you guys are great. So thank you. No, you guys are great. I'll be here all week. All right. And the thing about social media is, you know, these comments, like I talked about, that guy posted that comment and was like, he finally mentions the Rizzler here. There's been also something I've noticed on social media. I don't know if it's like a new thing or what's going on. Maybe there's just, let me explain myself. When I use social media now, I am shocked by the comments, like the top comments, because they're not bots. Because you know what bots are, right? Bots have the same dumb comments. They're like comments that are overly positive and have nothing to do with the video, or they're like super sexual, right? It's one of those two, and you're like, oh, that's a bot. And usually pretty bad grammar, which is weird because wouldn't bots have good grammar? Like, that's a weird thing that they didn't get right. Like, whoever invented bots, they were like, yeah, we're going to make it automate messages. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. And they're like, they're going to send the messages right when people post their content. They're going to be like the first few comments. You're like, oh, this is very efficient. Nice. And they're like, yeah, but none of it's going to be intelligible. Like, it's not going to make any sense. And you're like, oh, okay. That seems like the first thing you could have figured out. And they're like, no, we figured it's not a big deal. It's all about the engagement. And like, they just need to click on that wacky looking link. They don't even make it. It's like a mousetrap that doesn't have cheese. And if it does have cheese, there's big signs pointing to it being like, that's poisonous cheese. Don't touch it. It's stupid. But I've been seeing a lot of bots on the internet, and that's been a thing for a few years. But the new thing I've been seeing is a lot of the top comments, which I can tell are real people, they read like bots. It's weird to me. Some of these top comments, I'm like, that's a real person that typed that? And like, they're getting engagement and going back and forth with people, but I'm like, but why are they typing like that? This is hard to articulate. So let me give you an example. I was watching a guy do a food review. This is like on YouTube Shorts or something. And he ate something and he said, man, that is really fuck withable. I was like, oh, okay, let's see what the comments say. And someone said, that's my new catchphrase, crying laughing emoji. I was like, what the fuck is that? Do people actually type like that? Do people actually talk like that? What do you mean? Really? Really, random guy on the fuck withable. That's your new catchphrase? That's not even a cat. That's a word. What do you mean? And I've been seeing this more and more on social media. It's people talking like, I don't think people talk. They're like, oh my God, like this is so me. What is going on? Maybe I'm being like an asshole here, but it's weird. Is it not? Like, I see these comments and they don't seem real, but they are. And I'm like, is there something that gets lost when people consume something through the internet versus in real life, that they react in a different way? That's a dumb question. Obviously they do. But when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is I got like weirded out by someone being like, I don't know, they talk like an elementary school kid thinks. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there'll be a YouTube short about like, oh, the rarest dinosaurs. And there'll be comments where it's like, wow, those are really cool dinosaurs. And I'm like, are you in first grade? Did you just get back from recess? Why are you typing like that? And you click on their profile, it's like a 47-year-old dad of two. He loves Christ, according to his bio. He likes mountain biking. It's the whole thing. He's a real person. But then he watched this short about dinosaurs. He was like, wow, those are awesome. What happened to this Christ-loving dad of two? Who the fuck is this guy? And I don't get it. Is this a new thing? Has it always been like this? I've just been more like attuned to it. I don't know. Is that something you've noticed? Like I said, you guys are cool because you make like interesting, funny comments, but I go outside of myself and I am like, what the fuck is going on? What are people doing? You know, it's funny, the Rizzler thing. I'm going to go back to that. That was interesting also to me because when someone reads a title, they're like, I want to hear that thing get mentioned, which obviously makes sense. Like if you have something titled a certain way, you would expect to hear about it. But it's almost like when you're watching a movie and then they say the title of the movie in the movie and you're like, "Oh, did you guys?" He said he's Aquaman. That's also the title of the movie. Did you guys hear? Did you guys hear that? It feels childish. I don't know why I'm so. I don't know why I'm this way today. But it's kind of like, yeah. Let's say the Minecraft movie is coming out. Like I know sometime in that movie, right? They're gonna say the word Minecraft. They're gonna enter the realm through the Nether portal or whatever that new portal they're gonna use is, and they're gonna be like, "Where are we?" And then someone's gonna be like, "Oh my god, I think we're in Minecraft." And then someone's gonna be like, "Oh, he said it." Oh, he said the word. He said the title of the thing. It's kind of like, did you guys play Among Us like back in the pandemic days? Whenever you would play that game, sometimes it would slip in a session when someone would say, "Yeah, I still think there's an imposter among us," and then everyone would get that little, have a little giggle and be like, "Ah, you said the title of the game." And it's like, "Oh yeah, I did." It's a sweet little thing, but it's so like childish. And that's how I imagine this comment. He finally says the Rizzler at 12:32. Like, does that mean when I said it, he was like, "Oh fuck yes." Oh yeah, yeah. This is the okay. Mm-hmm. Buckle up. It's about to start. That was about 12 minutes of foreplay, but now we're getting into the good stuff. Now it's about to get hot and heavy. This is ridiculous. You know, when I went to this cafe, I wore this jacket, and then I came back and I had to go to work that day. But I took the jacket off, put it down on the ground, went and took a shower, came back out, and I was like, I should get a new jacket. But then I thought about it, and I'm like, why would I sacrifice another jacket? This one's already been used. I'm just creating more clothes for myself. So I was like, I should just wear that one. It's not dirty. I just wore it out once. Let me just wear that one. So I picked it up. I put it on. I was like, oh, huh. It still has a little bit of my body heat in it. That's interesting. And I thought about it. I'm like, oh yeah, there's a certain period of time after you wear something when your body heat is still attached to it, or it still retains some of that heat. And it was weird, like feeling it after you put it on. And I guess it was just weird because it was like my own heat. Sometimes you'll let someone borrow a jacket right off of you, right? And then they can, directly feel the heat. And it's expected. But when you felt your own heat, now I sound like Jack Harlow. Yeah, you know when you're like rubbing up on your own heat? All right, easy, Jackson, calm down. But when I put it on myself, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. It stayed in there. Huh. And then I got to thinking, oh, this is kind of like, if you think about it, when people pass away, their effects are still felt in the world. Like when Kobe passed, it felt like there were like ripples throughout the world. Like I remember that week he passed, I had 3 separate people text me and be like, "Oh my God, I appreciate you so much. I just want you to know that. I'm so glad you're in my life." I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I think it's because people were like faced with mortality a little bit that week and they were like, oh my God, I should start appreciating things more. Ironically, 2 months later, we all got sent home because there was a global pandemic, but I digress. And I think people have this effect, right? There's like an effect or like an energy or whatever that people give to others in their time alive. And it's interesting that even when they pass, that energy lives on. A piece of everyone lives on in everyone, in a bunch of other people, their close circle, even when they're not here. And I was like, oh, this jacket is like a perfect metaphor for that. Because I wasn't wearing the jacket, but even if someone reached down and put the jacket on, they would still feel that warmth. It would be like, the energy I left behind. So I was like, oh yeah, life is just like a warm jacket, isn't it? Because you pass through it, you have your effect, and then, yeah, you're still, your warmth is still felt. If you think about it, life is just one big fleshlight, and we're all dicks. See, I can't say things nice, can I? I always have to make it weird, just like Jack Harlow. By the ways, Jack Harlow doesn't say hello, Miss Johnson until 40 seconds into that song. So he's guilty of the same thing I did. Jack and I are one and the same. We like to tease people, not say the title until we're about a third into something, and we like to feel our own heat. What an awful episode. But if you are still here, thank you. And I appreciate it, and I hope you have a good holiday week. It's Thanksgiving, and then there's Black Friday. And that's what we're calling it, okay? Enough out of you, crazy cousin. So yeah, thank you. And make sure you give a comment down below. I promise next week will be better. And that is when I will see you, okay? Because I will talk to you next week, okay?